Howdy, howdy, y'all. Happy Tuesday. Uh, I am joined today by Adrián Bolonio. Adrian, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ben. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm excited to have you on. I'm excited to be talking about, GitHub Actions and CI/CD for accessibility testing. But before we do that, would you like to give yourself an introduction?
Sure. Yeah. So as Ben said, my name is Adrian. I am a accessibility software engineer working at the accessibility team at GitHub, trying to make the biggest platform for developers more accessible. And not only this one, but our aim or our objective is to make developer tools accessible, right, for everyone. I like sharing accessibility topics normally in my Twitter account, and sometimes I don't write so many blog posts as I wanted, but I write blog posts in my website. So if you want to give it a read, go there. And I'm so happy to be here, Ben, with you.
I'm thrilled to have you on. And actually, like I found you because of one of those blog posts, which covered exactly the topic that we're going to be doing. I put a link to Adrian on Twitter. Go follow him. Go show him that semantics love. Um, yeah. So about a year ago, just over it seems, you published a blog post that is about automating accessibility testing, specifically using GitHub Actions. And so I wanted to talk to you a bit about kind of that process. And first of all, what do you think the value is of automated accessibility testing in general?
So, yeah, nice question. I think or I consider the testing process as a larger process. So we need to consider manual tests, same as automated tests, because we cannot forget that only something like 20, 30, 40, maximum 40% of the accessibility issues can be found via automated tests. So we need to put in the same level manual tests and automate tests. But why so important? This is as any other thing. If you can automate things that you don't have to do, then you're gonna save time while doing it. You're gonna have a more structured way of doing it, and you're gonna gather information automatically about the code that we are writing, right? So it's a super nice tool to um, prevent putting inaccessible code in production. I would say this is our main objective is not to put inaccessible code in production. And how can we do it? Like testing it before. Then we have manual tests, of course, but automating tests it's gonna give us this benefit. Right?
Awesome. Yeah, and so you mentioned that, like, only a certain percentage of accessibility issues can be caught with accessibility testing or automated accessibility testing, rather. Can you kind of talk to what kinds of issues can automated testing surface for us?
So it is. We can always go to the theory, right? So we can throw some piece of code over an engine, Axe, P11Y, whatever you want to call it, Lighthouse. Um, and this is going to tell you, wait, I'm going to analyze your code and I'm going to tell you what elements of your code are not accessible. So, for example, we can say which images don't have a alternate text. And we can do this, but what automate test cannot do, and I'm gonna leave artificial intelligence um, in a different level, is what is the quality of this alternate text? Like, is the content of the alt text meaningful enough? Because there's one thing that we've seen lately for SEO purposes is like some companies are using alt text to put keywords instead of the description of the image. So it's going to pass the test. The alt text, the alternate text is there. We are not going to have a failing test on that. But the quality is very important. And this is the point where we need a human to say, okay, this is meaningful enough. The same with the content of ARIA labels. But an automate test is going to tell you that a button with an X or a link, which is a number, a phone number, is not meaningful enough, and you should put another label. This is you're not going to find this test. So this is where we need to again put together manual test and automate test to count it as a larger process.
Absolutely. And so, how does GitHub fit into this?
Well, if you have your code um, hosted in GitHub, right? So you have a GitHub repository. Some time ago, not long ago, GitHub released GitHub Actions. So GitHub Actions are a workflows. It's a list of tasks that you can execute on demand. And this on demand, you decide when to do it, right? So you can do it in a commit, you can do it every time that you push, you can do it in a pull request, you can do it in several occasions. Today we're gonna see how to do it in pull requests, for example, which is the way that we have the tool that we have to review code. And with these GitHub Actions, we can execute different tasks. And what we want to execute are CLI tools, command line interface tools, like any accessibility engine or any tool that you can run in your terminal. Now we can do it on demand on the GitHub repository. Is basically having your CI/CD, your small CI/CD within your repository, right? You can do a bunch of things. Actually, you can do it as a CI/CD. You can use it to release to your environments. You can use it for run test or run I don't know, checks, other checks, whatever you want to do it. In this case, we're going to use it for accessibility tests, and this is the power of GitHub Actions. You can really run a lot of things.
So we're going to be running our automated tests as part of the pull request process. So I guess the thinking here is that I or anyone else in my project could open up a pull request and automatically we're going to run these tests. And so like I don't have to think about that. I don't have to remember to do it. It's just done for me.
Exactly, and the good thing is you mentioned your repository. So we are talking about open source here, right? We're talking about a
Hmm.
repository that is public, and someone else can create a pull request because, of course, this is the power of open source. The community can benefit from your project, but can contribute to your project. So you want in your project, because open source doesn't mean bad quality. You want a good open source project with good quality, and you want to be sure that every pull request that someone does, they need to think in accessibility as well, right? So you can create a bunch of
Mhm.
documentation. We know that we scan internet, we don't read internet, so we scan. So documentation is super good, but we need to read it. So some people will not read your documentation. We need to understand this. So the best way that you have to control every pull request is automating it. Is what you just said. You don't need to care about checking every single pull request. You have a GitHub action that does it for you every time that you go or someone does a pull request, and then you just go check the code. All checks are done. That means that your code, the automated part of the test are good. I will check a couple of things in the code, and if both things are good, you can go to production.
I love that. I had never considered the like thought that the automated accessibility testing is a part of CI/CD. It's not just a time saver, it's also in a way a communication tool, right? It's a communication tool specifically for the like exposing the requirements of a project, in this case that our project needs to be accessible for folks who very likely don't have all the same context that you and I do when we're setting up the project. That's very cool.
Exactly, and exactly, and these tests are gonna give you some information. So it's not gonna tell you, look, it's wrong. It's gonna tell you, look, it's wrong because of this one, and you can fix it like this.
Mhm.
I like the idea of the communication. We can include in the GitHub Actions. I don't know if we're gonna have time today, but this is something that we can think about for the future, which is we can, since GitHub Actions are workflows, we can execute any communication tool command here. So we can post a message in Slack, in Microsoft Teams, in Telegram, in WhatsApp if we have a server for that. So we can send messages to say, wait, this pull request that someone created for you has this error. Go check them. So we can use this as well as communication within the project, right?
Absolutely. I think this is great. This sounds very promising. I say we go ahead and dive into writing some of this ourselves. I'm
Great.
gonna start sharing
Let's do
my
that.
screen. Yeah. So first of all, I put a link to his Twitter in the chat earlier, but I'll do it again because I'm a kind and benevolent stream host. Go follow Adrian on Twitter. And also, if you're looking to kind of like follow along with some of the ideas of this, here's the blog post we were referring to earlier that Adrian's published on this matter. Um, and yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So I've got my terminal, and I'm just gonna create a new project. I think it's npm create. I might have gotten
Create. Create tab.
think this is how I I always get this mixed up because I know Yarn has some shorthand for that. Okay, got it. That's what it is. And I'm just gonna
Yeah,
call
you need to
this.
put a dot. Are you already in the folder that you want to create
I'm
a?
creating a new directory for this because I've got a whole directory structure for. Oh man,
Great.
wow. Okay. I'll just do npx create React app at
Yeah. Or
latest.
maybe with yarn.
Oh yeah. Um. And then let's see. I'll GitHub Actions. See if this does it. See if it does it.
Great. Yeah. And afterwards, we want to create a repository for that.
Okay.
So we want to connect it with a repo, so where we can
Yeah.
make the pull requests.
And I actually do have the GitHub CLI, so that'll make it even easier.
Great. Okay, so while this is creating, let's have a mental structure of what we're gonna do. So
Okay.
we are creating a React app. Okay, let's understand something. This is not only for React. We are creating React app because this is what I'm more comfortable with. But you can create an Angular, a Vue, Svelte, whatever you want, just vanilla, whatever you want to test. We need to understand that everything renders in CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. It doesn't matter the grammar you use, it doesn't matter the framework you use. It doesn't matter if you use PHP in Django, or you use Ruby on Rails, or if you use JavaScript with React. Everything is going to render in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Because this is the only languages that browsers understand. So once we understand this, we can test everything. There is
Absolutely.
different tools for test different frameworks, but this is how we can test everything. So we are creating a React app, and what we're gonna do is to put a couple of on purpose mistakes. Let's say a couple of images without alt, or maybe a div container with an on-click handler, something like that. Maybe a fake button, which is an anchor link with a roll button. Something that we can find with those tests. And then what we have to do is just create the GitHub Actions with the proper tests.
Right. And I think it's because I ran it via npx, but man, is it going slowly today. Um, yeah. You know what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna bail because you sent me a link to a repository that has some of the stuff kind of built in. So I think I might just clone that.
Yeah, pull it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do that. Uh, and I think I'm just going to download it as a zip. And that way we can set everything up as a new project as well. Um,
Yeah, great.
Yeah, this'll make things a little easier.
I mean, this is 14 months old, so bear with the old versions of React and everything, but it should work.
Yeah, desktop. Do that. Up. Go and open that up in our editor. And last step, install the dependencies. There we go.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there's VS Code. Amazing just how much faster that is over.
Yeah.
I think. I'm not on the good network. That's why. Ugh. Rookie streamer mistake right there, being on the less good network. Okay, so let's I guess take a look. Take a look at this and see what we've got code wise. So and we might need to clear some stuff out so we can
Sure.
basically recreate it. Oof. There we go. So we have an index. The index is going to have thinking.
So the code is in the app TSX. So the index is going to render the app TSX, and in the app we have the component image, which is a component in the folder components.
It is this one. Yep. Okay. So this is
Okay,
just
and we
a pretty basic image here. It just renders an image tag using the source role, or I guess really just the role and alt that you give it. So not a whole lot going
yeah,
on here.
exactly. So no, just a plain thing. Um, Very simple component. We can even remove the role. It was just like about of like I can pass a wrong role and see, but as
Hmm.
well we can see that the alt text here is optional. So if you go back to the app TSX, the image component that is rendered in line 13 is not passing any prop as an alt text. So this is a mistake because what is going to render at the very end is going to render um, an image without an alt text, right?
Hmm.
So this is what we're gonna have at the very end. As well, what we see here as well is in lines from 5 to 8, we are requiring the Axe Core React library only if the environment is not production. What is this library going to do? This is not an automate library that we're gonna use for GitHub, but let me explain a bit what this is gonna do. This library is going to use the React DOM and it's going to execute Axe, the Axe engine from DQ, in your application once you run it, when you do npm run dev or yarn dev or start or whatever your script is. When you go to the browser to see this application running, you in the console log, in the console of the development tools in the browser, you're gonna see the mistakes, the accessibility vulnerabilities that you're having. They are going to be grouped. If you have them multiple times, you're gonna have several information about the issue. So it's going to show you the severity level. So if it's minor, if it's critical, if it's major, sorry, minor, critical, or depending on the level of the issue. It's going to be shown which element of the DOM is causing the vulnerability.
Makes
As
sense.
well, it's going to give you a direct link to DQ University, which is the documentation that DQ put together to teach a bit more on the issue and what is the issue and how to solve the issue. So you don't have to look for it, you have a direct link. So this is what this Axe Core React library is doing. There is one for Vue, and I believe for Angular you need to use the Axe Core one, like there's no one for Angular, but you can use the testing one, like the root one.
Mm,
So you can use them for any other frameworks.
okay.
Good.
Good deal.
So yes. So yeah, let's go and see if we can, if you want to create a repo and see if we can see the issues.
Course still hasn't finished. Incredible.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, my internet sure is thinking about that today. All right. Uh, and let's see. It go. Oh, create. So yeah, I'm using the GitHub CLI, which is incredible. I've got a nice little organization here for semantics, and I'm gonna call this uh, actions. That all right. Let's see. That all looks good. Yeah. Uh, create a basic React app, and we'll push it.
Great.
And it
So
lives here now. So we'll have this. And I think you've already set up some of the actions, so we may start seeing things kick off.
no,
For
no,
this, right? Okay.
there's no actions in the base one.
Okay.
So what we want to create them is in a pull request so we can see them running. Of course,
Hmm.
later when you merge the first pull request, the actions live in the main branch, of course. But if just for the sake of seeing them, we will not see them now because there's no actions. Um,
Gotcha.
the GitHub Actions live in a folder called .github.
Okay.
So you will see, so it's .github slash workflows. So you obviously cannot see this here because we don't have them, but we have the repository created. Perfect. Okay, that's
Yep.
great. But now we need to be sure that anyone who wants to create a branch to this repository, we will need these actions. Okay, so
Yes.
what we want to create is a new branch for this repo in your local. So maybe call it, well, whatever you want to call it, like add
Yeah.
actions or.
Gonna nuke the install here. We're not gonna do anything local, I don't think. Not today. Um. Git checkout, new branch, call it add actions. You got it. Okay.
Okay, now we have in, so now locally we are in a new branch. Okay, perfect.
Yes.
So maybe we want to start creating the actions. So what we need first is a folder called .github in the root of the project. Yes, and inside this .github we want another folder called workflows.
Okay. And these are magic names that like GitHub requires, right?
Exactly. So the same as you want to create issue template or PR templates, those are going into the .github folder as well. So
Mhm.
workflows is the folder where GitHub is taking the actions. Great. Now actions. The actions uh, are YAML files. Okay. So what we want to create is a new YAML file. So let's call it axe.yml. So axe YAML, perfect. And now every time, so now we need to tell the action what to do, but this is the action. The action, so the workflow, the set of tasks that we are going to create is going to be written in this file for Axe. If we want a new action, we can write as much actions as we want. Huh? But let's start first with this one, okay?
Okay.
So we need to start giving it a name. So name colon Axe. Okay, so this is the public name that is going to be displayed. Okay, then we want to say in a new line, we want to say on colon, and we want to execute this action on, right? And then we need to say now here as a, so in the next line, and if you indent it with one tab, we want to say every push or every pull request. So let's say in both push and pull request. So we're gonna say push colon, and again enter and indented 2 times. So now again indented after push, and we're gonna say which branches. So we're gonna say branches
Right.
because we can say okay, we want only for one branch or whatever. So this is gonna be an array of branches. So it's gonna be an array.
Okay, so
And since we,
are you using the bracket notation or the like bullet notation in YAML?
yeah, like this. Yeah, no, like
Okay.
square brackets. And
Cool.
we're gonna say main. We're gonna say main because we only want this to happen in main. Okay? Because of course it's our. I think you don't need the quote. Um, so we want this to happen in main. Okay?
Okay.
So this is gonna say that execute this GitHub action every time that you push a branch to main.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so every time that you push to the branch main, so which is pretty much the same. But we don't want this only. We want this to happen as well in the pull request. So do exactly the same as push, but instead of push, you put pull underscore request. And the same branches main. So every time that we create a pull request that the destination is main, this action is going to be executed. Perfect. Now we have a name and we have when it's going to execute it. Now the next node is going to be jobs as a root, so in the left side.
And then what
So
did you say it
jobs.
was called?
No, just jobs.
Dot.
No, like jobs, like in
Oh,
plural,
jobs,
like
jobs. I'm sorry. I apologize.
like
I'm hard of hearing.
yeah, jobs. Fine.
Jobs. Got it. Got it. Got it.
No, okay, good. So now we have the name, we have when it's going to happen, and now we're gonna say what jobs are going to be executed, right? So we want to give a name to the first job, which is axe. So you can put axe colon.
Oh, axe colon. You
Oh,
said.
you don't need just
Okay.
axe and colon. Yeah, so just axe. Okay, perfect. And now we're gonna say what things are going to run. Okay, so the next indentation, we need to specify the environment. So the environment we say runs dash on. So it runs on. So runs dash on Ubuntu dash latest. So we want this to run in an Ubuntu latest machine, and this GitHub is providing it. This is a virtual machine, so you need to care about this. Okay, and the next thing is going to be steps. So now we have again the name of the action, when it's going to happen. The jobs are going to be named Axe. Those jobs are going to run on Ubuntu latest machine. And now we're going to give the steps that this needs to run. Okay, so now we need to, so after steps, we need to use dashes, not indentation, in the same level as steps. We need to use dashes as like like a list, right?
Yeah.
So we said uses. So this uses actions slash checkout at v2, like version 2.
Wait, like check out like
Like
this?
uh, uh, checkout at v2, like an email.
Oh, check out at V2. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Or like at laters that you did before. Okay, so we are using the actions. Okay. The thing is, like, everything that I'm going to say now, it's just very predefined on we want to run a Node.js action. So this is going to be, if you go to action, we can see later how to create an action from GitHub, like in a more user interface view. Then the next one, same level as uses, dash name.
Dash name like this.
Yeah, exactly. That's name. And then we can say use like with capital U if you want. Like this is just like really the name that is going to be displayed.
Mm.
So use Node.js 12.x. So we're gonna use a version of Node 12. I know there's a much newer version. This again, bear with me because this project is a bit old. Um, After name, the next one is uses. Now without the dash, because we already said name, you can give a name to the step. So it's just like exactly uses actions slash setup dash node at one. So v1. Sorry.
You said
So
simple node?
setup node.
Oh, setup node. Okay.
Yeah, setup node at v1.
V1.
Yeah, exactly. And then the next one with. And now next one indented node dash version. So next one and then indented node version. So node dash version colon 12.x.
Oh, no. I see. Node.
Just one.
Yeah, node version and then 12.x. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So again, so we are saying that this is an action. This is going to use node 12. So we are saying that the action is a node and with the version 12x. So the name is purely, again, just a
Hmm.
name to be displayed. Okay. And then now we have another dash. So go to dash and say run. We want to run npm ci. So we want the common interface of npm. The next one is run npm run build.
npm run build. Oh, I'll put a colon there.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then after the build, you want to flag it with dash dash if dash present. So
If
let's build the
present.
application if dash present. Exactly, yeah. So we need to run it. So we need to build it if we have this command. The next one is the one that is going to run the application. So the next one is going to run npm start or whatever script your application starts with. So it could be def npm run start ampersand. So afterwards ampersand. And the next one is very important. So because if we put npm start, it's gonna run. That's good. But since we want to to um, to run it in the localhost, but we don't know which port with localhost or whatever, we want to specify npx wait dash on and then http colon slash slash localhost in the 3000. So this the same that you would see in the browser, right? So localhost colon 3000. Okay, so now we have our application running in the 3000. Then we want to include a new one with a name. I mean, again, the name is optional. It's just like, again, to see maybe a bit of, and we can say run ax, just to see that this is running ax. Okay. And now without the dash, so in the same level of name, so what just one say run colon and you have to say pipe and then in the next line npm install because again we want to run axe engine, right? So we want to install it first. So npm install -g because it's globally in the machine that GitHub is giving us. Okay. Add axe core add axe dash core slash CLI.
CLI. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
not React this time because React we already discussed. Okay, React is the one that is going to execute it inside React, but we
Mm-hmm.
want the command line interface here. And the next one is the final one, which is axe HTTP localhost 3000. Okay, so now we have running, but after the 3000, we need something very important that I made a mistake the very first time that I made this, which is this action is going to run all the tests, but it's not going to give a success or a failing
Oh, okay.
because Axe has a flag. So after localhost 3000 at the end, you need to do dash dash exit.
You
That
said
means
execute?
if exit.
Oh, exit. Got it.
So if it fails, then exit. So this means if the test fails, then please provoke or cause an error here so I can see a red X. Okay, good. This is the GitHub action completed for Axe.
Nice.
Um,
Shall we go
so
ahead and commit this, push it up, open up a new pull request?
yeah, we can create this one and then afterwards we can create a new one and a new one and a new one. Okay, but
Yeah.
let's give it a try first.
Yeah. Just to see one working.
Yeah.
Push. Yeah. Origin add actions for the first time you're pushing. Oh.
Just get
Um.
a push. I think just get a
Oh.
push. It's gonna give you the command, and you can copy and
Oh.
paste it.
Yeah. I've actually already configured it to automatically do that.
Okay,
Okay. Cool. Open up a
perfect.
pull
So
request.
perfect. We can open a request.
Add ability and workflows to CI CD and create.
Yeah, and now what we should see is this text running now. So I might be a bit delayed because I see your screen with a bit of delay, but there is. We see this GitHub action running, right?
Okay.
So you see Axe in a pull request. So we can click in details and see this running.
All
So
right. And
we
it's
re- so
it's
so
using our
exactly
names and everything. That's awesome. Yeah.
exactly that's what I mean. So you can see that the names are respected. If you don't put a name, like in RAM npm CI, then you don't have a name, of course. But you can see, and whenever run axe is gonna run, it should give us an error. It should, I said.
Yeah. So it told us that it failed. I mean, and because it said it failed, like it gives you the option to like rerun, but in this case it actually is supposed to fail. So I could
Yeah,
go,
but it's running. But yeah, but this is the okay. What is the mistake? npx install command await on command not found await on. Is it the
oh,
wait on?
is it
Is
wait
is
on?
is no? It's just wait.
Oh, it's just
It's
wait.
it's not a wait, but
Oh,
wait.
it's just wait. Okay. Like wait on like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Wait.
Got it. And let's try this
But
once more.
but this is a good use case.
Yeah.
Every time that is a failing thing, it doesn't matter if it's an accessibility thing. You can do GitHub Actions for whatever you want. But if you're looking for something and it makes a mistake, well, That's good.
Mhm.
You see it in the pull request.
Yeah. Yeah, and like instantly I didn't have to remember to run the script, remember to run the tests or whatever. It ran and it was gonna let me know like in this view, hey, something failed,
Exactly.
something broke.
And since we said that this GitHub action needs to run in every pull request, that means that every time that you update the pull request, it's going to run again.
Yes. Yeah, it's rerunning the Acts workflow right now.
Exactly. So if you click in details, and we can see this running.
Did hang on.
But this is the
Weird that it says await on again.
no. This is the other one. This is the X. Really? npm
Yeah.
when?
Um
But the
it
did you push it?
did
Yeah. I
um
mean,
yeah. It might just the GitHub interface might have taken a while to update or something. Yeah, because it's it's queuing the check, so it's not
okay, okay.
quite ready for it. Okay, cool. All right. In the meantime, did you want to go ahead and add in some other workflows while that
Yeah,
runs?
yeah.
Okay. And I imagine this is going to be a whole lot of like copy and paste. Like now that we've got this scaffold for one, like we can probably make use of very similar structure for the other
Exactly.
tool.
So
Okay.
if you want to clone this file, for example,
Yeah. All right.
and create one said PA11Y. So let's try with PA11Y. Okay. So Pali. I don't know. Good question, Ben. Do you say Ali or do you say
I
A11Y?
I find myself saying Allie. And
Okay,
so in this case I would call it Pally, but
Ali.
like I've flip-flopped, you know, it never feels totally consistent. And every
Yeah.
accessibility practitioner pronounces the numeronym differently.
I started calling it P11Y and I11Y, so I think I continue with this one.
Mhm.
Okay, so so we have everything we needed until literally line 19, right? Because everything is okay. Yeah, we need to change the name, of course, and in the line 8 as well. It's because the jobs is in the line number 8 is axe as well.
Oh yes, so it is. Yes.
Okay, good. So now instead of npm install axe core CLI, we just need to say npm score plmly, just Pali. So this is the name of the library.
Okay. And we're
And it's
globally installing Pally, right?
yes, exactly, because we are working in a machine that we don't know. This is not our machine,
Sure.
so we need to install it globally. And same as the axe, so we just need to say plmly. The good thing with plmly in difference of axe is that we don't need the exit command because plmly already exit if it's a failing. Okay,
Okay.
and that's it. Everything
Okay.
works the same. It's just we just have a Pali or plmly engine running. But before you push,
Oh,
let's go to the pull. Yeah, you're pushing. It's okay. It's gonna run again. Don't worry. But you will see now two GitHub actions running. Okay, we see them
yep.
because they are recognized. That's good. And if you want to click in details in one, just choose the one that you want.
All right.
Okay, so we are running the GitHub action. GitHub accounts some Antics accessibility. I'm trying to go to to this repository, but I can send Antics def.
Oh yeah, let me give you the link.
Yeah, though.
There we go. It's in the Zoom chat.
Yeah, good. I just want to follow along as well what you're doing.
Sounds good. It is running Pally right now.
Great. Okay, so it's running. Pa, pa, pa.
And it
Okay.
failed. Yeah, it's oh, whoops, it was there, but yeah, it said like, hey, Yeah, your image
Okay.
element is missing an alt attribute,
Okay.
etc., etc.
Okay, so we have the use case correct, right? So the image, which is rendered in line 25 over there, so you see image, source, static media, blah, 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 with 600 pixels, but there's no alt. So let's analyze first this in comparison with Axe. What
Okay.
do we have? We have, in line 22, we have the error in a bit of like human readable, like, okay, the image element missing alt attribute, use, and then a bit of explanation. Use the alt attribute to specify a short text alternative. The next line we have what principle of the WCAG to double A is violating. So the H37, we can see this here. Then we have the DOM structure, and we have the specific element of image. Okay, this is what we have from um, from the Pali example, right? If you go back to the pull request, then
Yes.
we can see that the action has failed as well. You will see it immediately.
I need to just gonna
Yeah,
refresh.
yeah,
GitHub's
because
cache
this is
got weird, I think.
yeah.
There we go. Yeah, so if I look at the acts failure,
Yeah, exactly. You will have a similar info, but a bit different because it's different engine. So what we have
yeah.
here is, okay, violation of image, then you have a bit of information. This is the link that I was telling before. You see there's a link from DQ University, so you can see, you can follow this link and then see what is the issue and how to solve the issue. So you can read more about this issue. So DQ put a lot of information about this.
Hmm.
Okay, then Axe is finding more issues. So, for example, there's no landmark of main inside the HTML. As well, there is no H1 in the HTML, and there's no landmark. Not only there's no main, but there's no regions or anything. So we have here four accessibility issues detected.
Yeah.
So again, Axe is a bit more strict looking for issues than P11Y. So what I recommend, I remember I gave a talk in AxeCon about testing, and one person asked me if it's better to choose just one or more. The more tools you use, the biggest amount of information you're gonna have, right? So you're gonna gather more information. So if you only have P11Y, then you will skip those issues that they are true. You don't have an H1, you don't have a main landmark, you don't have any region landmark. So I think it's very beneficial to use different tools, right?
Absolutely.
Um, Good. So do you want to go to the final one, which is not a testing library but a reporting library? So maybe we can do one more GitHub action.
Yeah.
Good. So just clone the file, the same. We need exactly the same.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just yep. And what do we want to call this one?
Okay, we want to call it Lighthouse.
Oop. God, that copied the wrong thing. Oh man. Oh no, don't
Ooh,
copy like the
node
node
modules,
modules.
like 2 gigas of node modules, right?
Yeah. Oof. That would be the death of me. Okay. Um Lighthouse.yaml. All right, and we're gonna
Okay.
do our clever rename jobs here.
Yeah. Just change it. We will adapt the last ones if you want. So Lighthouse, perfect. Okay, now we want to install globally, and I'm gonna say at LH Lighthouse LHCI, so Lighthouse command interface slash CLI at 0.7.x. Again, bear with the version. Probably newer version works good. And instead of p11y localhost, we don't need this, and we just need to do lhci autorun.
LHCI and then what?
Autorun.
Like this?
Autorun. Yeah, autorun. So it's like it runs up. Yeah, exactly. Without the localhost, you don't need the localhost.
Okay.
And one. Let, let me check action setup with npm install. Okay, good. So line 16. npm wait. npm install npm run build. Okay, so instead of we don't need line 16, and we don't need actually we don't need h16 and 17. We're gonna create a new one.
Okay, like, oh, whoops, that was too much. Okay, so we're removing all of this?
Yes, and
Okay.
then after the node version 12, so we create a new one which is um, run. So like with a dash at the beginning. So let's go to the yes, and then run pipe, and in the next line npm install, and npm and next line npm run build. Both npm install and npm run build, can you indent it once?
Yes. Okay.
Yes, exactly. So we don't need to do npm start, because again we are not starting the application. We are not having a localhost. This is enough for Lighthouse. Okay, let me check again. Blah blah blah. Npm install build. I believe this is enough. So let's push this one and see what's happening.
You got it. Right.
Good. So now we go to the pull request, and the GitHub actions are running again. And if we wait a bit, we're gonna see something. Uh, we're gonna see something curious.
Okay. Very excited.
So we're gonna see how the Axe and P11Y are gonna fail, but Lighthouse is going to pass. It's
Okay.
going to be a green check. So if you go back to the pull request and see the result just directly from the pull request, we can see how the other ones are gonna fail.
Yeah.
Okay, just let's see.
I believe in it. In the meantime, I wanted to extend an option for the chat to reach out. If you've got any questions for Adrian, feel free to put them in the chat. Let us know. And make sure to get to some of those. Okay, so Axe and Pally have both failed. Lighthouse is still running, but we should expect soon enough a green check mark.
Yes, exactly. Well, I hope it is, but let's see if
Mhm.
the everything is running smooth.
Right. Um, and then also, like, there are ways to do this. I think you mentioned at one point that there's a way to do this through the like GitHub user interface is to add some of these
Yes,
things.
yes.
So
So you want to do it in
maybe
the meantime?
uh I think this should probably wrap up soon. I'll just pick
Yeah,
at the
let's.
details, but that might be a good like next step to see. Um,
Mhm.
seems like
Damn it.
Lighthouse might have failed. Case. Um,
Yes. Ah, interesting. Okay. Yes, sorry, failures. Okay, interesting.
there's our alt failure.
Yeah, I see. But the failures are not because of accessibility, as far as I see. Okay, there's one. Okay, it might change. might have
Yeah.
changed because the I have to say that Lighthouse now is called Web Dev, so it's like they changed the Web Vitals, which is good actually. What I wanted to show you is like Lighthouse is not a testing library; it's a reporting library. So the
Mm.
reports normally goes, and you have to analyze the report by yourself. Now it's a good surprise for me because now they give scores and they give a failure or success, which is super good. So if you see in line 65 of this console, you will see the uh, well, line
Line
65
65, you said?
maybe 65 for me, but if you go to up to the beginning of the run Lighthouse, yeah, there it is, line 41 for you. You can see
Yeah.
image alt failure.
Yes. Okay.
So it is. Of course, there is a bunch of other things that are failing in, for example, content width, which is not technically an accessibility issue. It's just a matter of like, wait, you don't have a responsiveness or maskable icon, so you don't have an icon that you don't have a manifest. A lot of things that are failing. So again, one extra check that your application is healthy, not only accessibility or talking about accessibility healthy, but responsiveness, performance, a lot of other things. Service workers for progressive web app, a lot of things that you can check with Lighthouse that you can include in the GitHub action, and you can prevent code that is not healthy in many other aspects to go to production. So we
Makes
can
sense.
we can we can check a lot of things with GitHub Actions, not only accessibility, but part of the accessibility checks. So yeah, very. I think we managed to create all the GitHub actions that we wanted to create.
Okay. Yeah, and it like I could see how, you know, like just being able to like if this were some incredibly awesome open source project, right? Just seeing the fact that these checks have failed is a good signal to me of like, hey, I shouldn't do anything with this. I don't want to YOLO push this into the project. It looks deliberately very angry at me. Like this is usually a big green button, but now it's gray. Like the GitHub interface very much so does not want me to merge this in because it's failed. Yeah, I'd love to take a look at if there's a way we can do this through the user interface too. Um, how might we go about that?
Yes, I'm going to. Yeah, I want to give you a link over the chat. Um, because this is something interesting as well. So it's not really, in this case, it's not really a GitHub action. It's an application that you can attach to repos from in GitHub. And DQ has an Axe linter that you can include in your repository. So it's going to analyze as well your pull request as, let's say, as a reviewer for you, right? So you can install it for free in your account or in your other account if you want. And I think it's the semantics, maybe.
Yeah. I see. Okay, got it. Okay. Install it for free?
Yeah, install it for free. And yeah, of course
Can
it's
only
free.
okay. Interesting. There we go. It's I don't know. I guess organizations are weird, but okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but this one, the problem with this one is this is going to run in your repositories and not in the semantics one, maybe. I'm
Yeah.
not 100% sure
Does it
because this is. Can you click in only select repositories instead of all
yeah. Oh
repositories?
yeah. Yeah,
And
yeah.
let's see if you have it there. I don't know.
I think probably not. Okay.
No, no, probably not. Okay, but if you're doing this one from a personal account, you can install this Axe linter. Maybe you want to go to the pull request that I have open in my repository. I think you have it in the third tab.
Yes. Okay.
So if you go to the pull request that I created, which is exactly the same as the pull request that you created, so it's the app GitHub Actions. This is a test repository that I have, and I have this linter installed. every time that you make a pull request, apart from running the GitHub Actions, you will have these kind of comments from the Axe linter reviewer. In this case, I've included a div with a role that is not correct. So this reviewer is going to tell you, hey, there's a potential accessibility issue here. I'm not going to tell you that this you need to change it, but you need to check it.
Yeah.
So it is a bot that is going to scan your code. Of course, this bot only it doesn't go through the render code. It's a linter, of course. So a linter
Mm-hmm.
only checks the code that you write, not the code that is going to be rendered. But it's another check that you can put
Absolutely.
on on
And
your
And I
on your
think I've
application.
seen linters like this, for instance, with like inclusive language checks that'll like look at your like code and go, hey, maybe this isn't like the friendliest wording. Maybe consider using alternate coding. Like it's not gonna halt your pull request. It's not gonna throw an error that like you need to resolve. But it is just going to make a comment on there of like, hey, this is a thing you might consider looking into.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Is there anything else you wanted to show off or talk about during this time?
Um, no, I think maybe if you want to go to your repository again and click in Actions, um, you can as well. So if you think it's like the fifth tab maybe,
Oh yeah. Okay.
and if you click in the tab Actions
Oh yeah. Okay.
in the repository one,
Like up here.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So you will have here for every action, so we have Axe, Lighthouse, and PLAY because we name it like this. You have a history of what has been done, and you can always take a look on and check this. And there is a small button called New Workflow in the lifestyle. So if you click in there, this is the user interface that I was talking about first. Like
Oh, okay.
this is how to create an action. So you can search here for Node.js. Actually, there's like the sixth one, and if you click in configure, you will see that the action is very similar of what
Oh
we
yeah.
wrote manually. Okay,
Yeah. It's got
of
some extra
course,
stuff, strategy and stuff
extra
like that,
stuff.
but
Yeah, exactly. Extra versions, and maybe there's a new grammar, but very similar, right? This is,
absolutely.
of course, and then you can see in the line 31 that this is running npm test. So this is an action that is going to run your unit tests. So if you have a unit test using, for example, Jest Axe, which is a Axe library for Jest, it's going to run the test and it's going to fail. So your unit test failed. You cannot put this code in production.
Okay.
So this is how you will create GitHub Actions from GitHub directly. And there is a lot. If you go back to one page, um, there's not only Node. You can literally there's a market there. So you can create your own ones and put it there for the people to use. But there's like a lot. You see deployments and security, continuous integration. There's a lot. So you can really do a lot of things with the GitHub Actions in your repository.
That is very cool. That is very cool. Awesome. So much to do there.
Great.
All right. I think probably that puts a good puts a tidy little bow on this, huh?
Yeah.
Awesome. Adrian, thank you so much for joining the stream today. I'm so glad we were able to have you on. Um, y'all go follow Adrian on Twitter. And stick around, chat. We are going to find someone to raid. Also, while you're following people on Twitter, go follow Semantics Dev on Twitter. That way you can keep apprised of all the cool streams. Um,
Absolutely.
Yes. I'm really excited for next week. I won't actually be the host for that. Instead, Stephanie Eccles is going to be guest hosting. She's bringing on Sarah Higley. Together, the two of them are going to be diving into, quote, weird aria. So, diving into how to make complex interactions make sense in the world of ARIA attributes for HTML. So I'm incredibly excited to have Sarah on and to have Steph guest host. I'm super looking forward to that. So follow the stream here, follow the stream on Twitter as well to keep apprised of all those news. And yeah, I guess I will be seeing y'all around. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. Bye, y'all.
Thank you, Ben, for your invitation.
Absolutely. Have a good one, y'all.
Yep.